So it's all come down to this. The MegaMan Star Force series has been a blast to revisit, and the experience has only been enhanced by sharing it with all of you. But of course, all good things come to an end. Would you like to know about the fate of the young boy Geo Stelar and everyone else in his world? I have a lot to say, so sit back and relax. The combination of incredible writing and exciting combat mechanics, let me tell you about one of the most impactful games I've played in my entire life, as well as maybe the greatest game released on the Nintendo DS. Yay! And it has voice acting! MegaMan Star Force 3, Black Ace and Red Joker released in the summer of 2009. Again, only a year after Star Force 2. This time the game begins with an ominous red star and two mysterious characters. They talk about the wish they both share and how it won't be accomplished until the planet's final moments. That's pretty lofty talk considering the only thing I've done in the game is press start. Onto the real stuff though. We get introduced to our dear protagonist, Geo Stelar, smiling harder than ever. Today's an exciting day because there's a mass upgrade to the terminals everyone uses. This would kinda be the equivalent in our world of a new iPhone dropping. Geo's alien partner, Omega, is in his terminal when it's upgraded. So he is actually affected by this when it happens. Our iPhone equivalent is called the Hunter VG, and inside of them are new programs called Wizards. These guys are basically personal assistants that can help us bust viruses that have appeared from how fast technology is advanced. Does this sound familiar? Wizards are Capcom's way of reintroducing Navis to the world. Someone please find me Pitcher Man. Now might be the perfect time to talk about how the world has changed even further between Star Force 2 and 3. As far as our characters now interact with the world. Just like Star Force 2, the wave world, or the digital roads that MegaMan uses, are overlaid with the real world. At the end of certain paths you'll find the word access. Simply put, stepping up to the words allows you to trans in to the cyber core of the tech, similar to jacking in from the Battle Network series. In the previous games, I didn't really scour every possible location that I could have. With Star Force 3 making it so much more obvious what items I could trans into, I felt way more encouraged to do so. There's also another reason later on that further encouraged this exploration, but we won't get to that just yet. Because Omega was in our Hunter VG when it was upgraded, he actually became our wizard, making it so for once in the series he can be seen by humans. This opens up new interactions between our cast, really keeping things fresh. And I should know, I streamed all 3 games back to back. As we let him out for some fresh air, the science club heads to the roof to test out their model rocket. The sprinkler of the cybercore gets infected by viruses, harasses the nerds, and becomes the perfect warm-up for our return as MegaMan. But like I said, things have changed. Because the real world and the wave world overlap so much, instead of needing a wave hole, a strong concentration of EM waves to transform, Geo can do it anywhere. We try to transform, but it doesn't work. The Saddle of Police catches us as an unregistered transformation, issues us a license to do so, and now we're officially Transcode 03, MegaMan. The tutorial battles are pretty much the same as every other MegaMan, but the combat has far more depth the further you go in the game. Stick around and you'll see what I mean. We save the science team and learn about the concept of teams and purposes. A team is something you form with your brothers. A purpose is what you want to accomplish with your team. Remember, in this world, the bonds that you share with people have tangible power. With the addition of a purpose, it helps to augment that power. We also get a front seat example of what wizards are and what they can do. The school nurse naturally has a nurse wizard, to the point where it can use a healing pulse. Wizards are made of materialized EM waves, basically our Scrimblow companions from Star Force 2, but significantly more fleshed out. Basically think of real waves as the culmination of what matter waves could be. All this action makes us late to meet up with Luna, who's more tsundere than we've ever seen her before. She's head over heels for MegaMan, but claims to be indifferent about Geo and his ill-mannered and violent wizard, Omega. He doesn't like being talked about like this. Chicanery aside, Luna's still as goal-oriented as ever. She's decided that the team has decided to create a purpose to ensure that Luna becomes the student body president. It's time to get out there and start campaigning. We do some good deeds in the name of Luna Platts, culminating with trying to help the Science Club launch their rocket. To secure their vote, Luna almost resorts to straight up bribery, attempting to purchase an energy card that isn't even street legal. That's 2 felonies in one. Now, how do we get our hands on military grade equipment? This may mean something different to me than it does to some of you guys. Little known fact about me, I'm a Marine Corps veteran. The fancy pants military grade stuff to me means that it's a hand-me-down that's older than I am, and while they can probably take a beating, it's probably obsolete and smells like swamp water. Anywho, for our elementary school kids to get a hand on it, it would take a miracle. So we get a message telling us we have a visitor waiting for us. We get approached by a fairly cool looking guy named Ace, Eos, or just Ace for short. We only learn 2 things about him. He has a sweet tooth, and he knows that Geo was MegaMan. He makes a request for us to head up to the new mall and participate in something the Star Force series has been sorely missing, a tournament arc. He even promises to somehow get his hands on the Giga Energy card we need in exchange for us just showing up. So who exactly is he that he can just guarantee he can get it for us? Omega comments that Ace and Geo give off a very similar vibe, and with that introduction to Star Force 3, we call it a night. Running late to the mall, Zack tells us about the King Foundation, headed by a man named Mr. King, who's spending a ton of money to make kids happy and inspire them all around the world. We show up even more late because the security gates are activated. The security program sensed a high level of noise, so it shut things down just to be safe. As for what noise is, we'll get an explanation soon. By the way, Ace won the tournament. Him and his wizard Acid defeated multiple wizards in a row, not only with an S-busting level, but also finishing each match in under 5 seconds. They're also very humble about this. Oh, sorry guys, no tournament arc. Ace actually set all this up to test how strong MegaMan really is. There's a big threat coming to Earth soon, so he just wanted to know how strong we are. The real main event is actually Ace versus MegaMan. No, just kidding, we won't be getting that either. A wizard went out of control, and MegaMan goes to defeat him to minimize the damage. This basic enemy can be kinda tough, but as a flex, Ace sends his wizard Acid to finish the job, but only after I softened him up though. A strange card falls out of the defeated wizard. Ace recognizes it but doesn't really elaborate. Acid teases Omega, who immediately hates him, and Ace hands us the Giga Energy card. Since we're on the topic of crime, let's also talk about the Satellite Police. They're an organization under WASA, the space tech experts. The Satellite Police's job is to handle the rise of EM wave related crimes, becoming more and more common with how tech has evolved so rapidly. Geo and Zack nerd out about their love of law enforcement. They hand the Giga Energy card to Woody, completing the rocket. The wizard in charge of navigation, Magnus, has everything they need to launch the rocket into space. The launch ceremony's tomorrow, so let's get a good night's sleep. Meanwhile, the Wonder Twins give Magnus a card that causes him to go haywire. This new primal form is given the title of Spade, something I will refuse to think about further because my mind is constantly in the gutter. Alright, time to go launch the rocket. It malfunctions. The energy output won't stop increasing, meaning it will explode. This marks the definitive first near-death situation of the game. How bad could this one be? Not only will Magnus's magnet pull people in, if the Giga card goes off, it'll completely destroy the school as well as a big chunk of Echo Ridge itself. As usual, being the only ones who can solve the problem, we pulse into the rocket to stop Spade Magnus. The first stage in this game has a fun gimmick involving magnets, using attraction and repulsion to progress to the end of the stage using the help of Magnus' little brother Luigi. The music for the stage is excellent and sets the bar for the next stages. As with all first bosses, Spade Magnus is doomed to be a pretty easy fight. The combat in Star Force 3 feels slick and tight. We haven't even scratched the surface at all. Stick around and I'll tell you all about it. After S-ranking Magnus, the Spade card the Wonder Twins put on him falls off. It's a noise card that causes wizards to go berserk. But how? Why? No time for that now, it doesn't really matter. We send off Spade Magnus into space. We form a brother band with Woody, Ace watches us and eats his chocolate, and then we listen in on the 2 goth siblings. We learn a lot too. Their names are Jack and Tia. They collected something once Spade Magnus was defeated. We even learned they're working for Mr. King. We learned that right away. The siblings get orders to infiltrate the school and study Geo Stelar, aka MegaMan. A little more info, the red shooting star from the beginning of the game is called Meteor G. It's picking up speed and now it's headed towards Earth. Can things get any worse? Yes. All of the Waza HQs around the world were working on destroying the meteor. In retaliation, the meteor shot a ton of noise at all of the HQs, completely destroying all of their technology. So basically, the Electopia HQ is the only one left that can try and stop the meteor. There's a lot of big fancy terms being thrown around in the game, so fortunately, we get a nice exposition here on the TV. This noise I keep referring to is produced by all this fancy EM technology. It could be considered like the exhaust of a car. It's an emission. All of the conveniences that society has a downside. All the noise being produced. It attracts viruses, it causes problems to cybercores. Wizards emit way more noise than any other technology. When enough noise is made, it crystallizes into red orbs. The red orbs are called crimson. Currently we don't know exactly what crimson can do, but it definitely isn't good. As usual, these games were far ahead of their time. Star Force 1 predicted the social network boom, Star Force 2 warned us about a clout-based society. A major theme for Star Force 3 is society ignoring glaring problems in exchange for convenience and gratification. Take your guess as to what current issue applies to this game. Global warming, rising inflation, TikTok? I'm sure they all apply here, and I'd love to hear your guys' opinions. Time for the next arc. We get a new student named Jack. We get a new student teacher named Tia. How convenient. The more the merrier, right? Jack and Tia are recreating the plot to 21 Jump Street, going undercover and finding out as much as they can about Geo. Luna, being the sweetheart she is, tries to introduce herself and her crew, but Vegeta does not have any patience for it. Geo's a little more sympathetic and can tell how antisocial Jack is. Remember, Geo was the same way at one time. We go searching for him, at one point asking a passerby wizard for help. Jack uses this as an opportunity to create chaos. We handle the chaos, and before things can escalate, a very fun, familiar face sneaks up on us. Just like the last game, she's playful and flirty with Geo. Just like the last game, Sonia Strum is playful and flirty with Geo, who is still too dense to maybe see how she really feels about him. She made a mistake as well, forgetting that she's a massive teen idol. Before the two get swarmed, they transform into MegaMan and Harpnote and plan to meet up on the school roof. On the way there though, I get completely jump scared by one of many of Star Force's boss encounters. The spontaneous flow of this game keeps it pretty fresh up until the very end, and this is just kind of scratching the surface of it. We get everyone together on the roof, and Sonia gives us a request. She's going to be shooting her show and wants us as extras. There's also going to be a concert afterwards. I was already making Hannah Montana jokes about her, but this really cements the similarities. Before we meet up at the studio, I had to make a quick stop. Bad news, everybody. The hero and mascot of Star Force 1 and 2, Moai, isn't in Star Force 3. Maybe they found a way to eradicate the Moai virus. With that being said, I gotta get the next closest thing, Big Drop. It's definitely not the same vibe, but the real hero of the game hasn't revealed itself yet. Tia reminds Hiei to keep cool and follow orders. He complains about how it's not his style and that they should just take MegaMan out now. He's having a harder and harder time masking his power level. Our little family gets bigger as Luna introduces her wizard Vogue. It's a little green rabbit in a hat. We go to WBG Studios on the day of filming. Luna strong-arms Jack into coming with them, similar to how she was persistent with Geo. We sneak into Sonia's dressing room because she forgot to give us a pass to get in ourselves. The two teens do a little more flirting, and Omega reminds us to not get caught walking out of her dressing room unless we want to end up on the front page of the tabloids. Once we get in, Bud wastes no time in complimenting Sonia in her outfit. Keep that in mind for later. We also meet Belle, the Emily Osment to the Sonia Strum show. We also meet Belle's wizard and manager, Ice. Despite her name, she has a very fiery, competitive attitude and is determined to make sure that Belle becomes the #1 celebrity in the world. Jack takes note of this information for later. Compared to Star Force 1 and 2, the writing and pacing for the story of 3 is pretty solid. They set up a lot of things that'll pay off later on. We have so many new concepts to introduce, so many mysteries being laid down, and a lot of foreshadowing to tease what's to come. We learn about a large object buried in the ground called the Real Wave Projector. This thing is going to create the entire concert stage for Sonia's concert. This cool guy named Lee Stern, possibly a nod to Stan Lee, is the head of the staff. Knowing Sonia's tragic backstory, he respects her and is very grateful to how kind she is to everyone around her. We get a Phantom of the Opera situation where the lighting wizard goes missing. We find them unharmed. Jack's wizard Corvus senses EM waves coming from Bud. Time to draw out his hidden power once again. When you need to sprinkle in a mid-boss fight, you can always rely on Taurus Fire. I'll count this as our second near death because fire's pretty bad. This next part is cool but a little weird. Taurus apologizes for everything that Geo and his friends have had to go through because of him. He then becomes Bud's wizard. The thing I find weird about this is that Taurus was one of the FMians responsible for capturing Geo's father, as well as the other people from that space station in Star Force 1. I can respect the attempt at Taurus having a redemption though. The director decides MegaMan would make for a better co-star than Belle. She gracefully steps down, but Ice doesn't take it too well. We get a Star Force 1 throwback here. Someone being tempted by power in a moment of frustration. Kaneki overhears Ice's frustrations, wishing that Sonia and MegaMan would just disappear. He gives her a noise card with the title Diamond, transforming her into Diamond Ice. After all, revenge is a dish best served cold. Somebody sends Lee threatening messages saying, "I will ruin Sonia Strum's concert." Geo joins Team Sonia backers with the purpose of saving her concert. A wizard gets stuck in ice, a real wave projector is frozen, a wizard gets stuck in ice, and someone freezes Sonia's door. Ironically, the way to put out these fires is by using fire each time. Lee becomes brothers with us just in time for Sonia's concert. As it begins, Lee pulls us aside and tells us something terrible. The cyber core of the real wave projector is frozen and the temperature is dropping fast. Kinda surprised the game spells it out for us like this, but everyone will freeze to death. Sonia does her best to keep everyone calm and engaged as Geo jumps off the stage and wave changes in mid-air, landing on the wave road and near the cybercore. It's kind of a little badass at this point. The event stage cybercore is a very straightforward stage. Walk on the ice panels, lowers your temperature. Taurus helps raise your temperature. It's not their best ice stage, but I'm not complaining. Diamond Ice refuses to reason with us, so we fight. This battle is similar to Plesio Surf or Wave from Star Force 2, where they have two ice crystals that are used for both offense and defense. When we defeat her, a large amount of crimson is produced and causes our body to go numb. Tia collects it, but as for why, that's still a mystery. Ice defends her actions by saying it's impossible to rise in show business without getting your hands dirty. Belle asks if Sonia used dirty tactics to rise in popularity, which we all know she didn't. Sonia isn't just her rival, she's her role model. Ice is ashamed of her actions, and now we got some time to catch the last song in the concert. Sonia very clearly had Geo in mind when she made this one. Now the crazy thing here is that in the original Japanese version of the game, there's a fully voiced version of this song, and it incorporates the main theme of Star Force 3. I'll put in a little bit of it here, but you guys should really go and check it out for yourselves. It's a little cheesy, but it's really, really cute. Geo and Sonia reform their brother bands, then Tia and Jack's wizards are revealed, Corvus and Virgo. They even seem to know who Omega is. The cops show up, and they need to bust somebody due to all the crimson that was produced. Sonia tries some quick moves, but in the end it's Luna's authority that deflates them. Ace comes by, reveals that he's a Satellite Police commando, eats more candy, and asks for Sonia's autograph. This guy rules. Then we meet the hard opposite of a guy that rules. The bad guy team is called Dealer, which is a good name, but it's led by Mr. King, and this guy is tacky as hell. The only cool thing about him is that the Dealer theme is sinister as hell.
Once my genius intellect is united with enough crimson,
That red shooting star, Meteor G will do as we please. If you want to hear more dope voice acting, swing on by the Twitch to be part of the action. Naturally, there will be more MegaMan, but I play all kinds of games. Also, please do consider hitting the like and subscribe. It helps me a lot more than you guys would expect. As a fledgling creator, every person counts. It's field trip time.
Like you a tourist? You a tourist?
Yeah, I'm sorry. We don't really have the time to talk right now. We're in the middle of figuring something out.
You are a tourist? But are you a
Yes, we're
tourist?
tourists, yes.
The class is taking a trip to the island of Aloha, which is the equivalent of our own real world. Actually, the more accurate comparison would be to Okinawa. Funny enough, I'm quite familiar with this place as well. Remember when I said I was a United States Marine? My first duty station was Okinawa, Japan. I lived in good old Oki for 2 years. It was a lot of hard work during the week, but I had great, loyal friends that encouraged me to explore the island and even take trips to the mainland every now and then. I'll never forget how incredible it was to live in Japan. Because Geo still doesn't have a passport, he's gonna meet up with everyone else later. First, we get something very critical to the game from Ace. Because being exposed to enough Crimson is bad for your health, he gives us the Ace program that lets us control noise. He also gives us access to the Astro Wave, the wave road that exists in space. It's at this point in my playthrough that after all these years, I fall in love with Star Force 3 once again. The Astro Wave is everything the Skywave from 2 wishes it could be. It has by far my favorite track in the entire series. It's always extremely clear where you're going, no maze that doesn't end, and now, buckle up as I deliver on the promise I made to you guys earlier in the video. What makes Star Force so good, so unique, so impactful that I would dare to call it the best DS game? The noise system. So like all Mega Man games, Geo has transformations. To keep things as simple as I can, there are 10 noise transformations Geo can have. 5 that are more likely to appear in one version of the game than the other, an 11th noise, the elusive rogue noise. So rare, people don't even think it exists. And if you count the box art forms, then there's 13 total. Each of these changes your charge attack, your active element, and plenty of passive buffs that are unique to each form. That's cool and all, but I just needed to explain that to you guys so I can explain the noise meter that appears in the top right corner during combat at all times. When you deal non-elemental damage using cards, your noise meter rises. Against viruses, any overkill damage done adds to this meter. Against bosses, half the damage you do adds to the meter. At 50% noise, you get access to Mega Man's current noise form. It activates your charge attack and your element. At 100% noise, you gain access to your noise form's second ability. You also bypass invincibility frames that bosses get after getting hit from attacks. This means you can really wail on your enemies faster than ever possible before. The combat in Star Force 3 is elegant and vicious, and here's where we break the game. If you finish a battle with over 100% noise, the reward at the end of the battle is completely randomized. And when I say completely randomized, I mean you can get almost any card available in the game, including some cards that shouldn't exist in the game at all. For example, I consider myself an extremely lucky person. If I was a Pokemon with an ability, it would absolutely be Super Luck. So, the very first battle since having access to noise, this was my first reward. Give me a good card. Give me a good card. Buddy, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Gemini isn't even a boss in the game. When I look in my folder, any cards with blue text are called illegal cards. Cards that shouldn't exist in the game and can only be obtained through noise. This is where you'll find cards from the previous game's viruses, bosses, and the highest tier of cards as well. So very early on, you can make yourself a really powerful folder. But as broken as that sounds, the game balances itself out by throwing challenges at you that will push you to your limit. You'll see what I mean soon. We make it to Aloha in time to learn about its castle. Inside is a powerful environmental system that keeps the island in a constant state of summer and protects the island from natural disasters. This is all operated by a very powerful wizard named Strum. He doesn't have a hunter. For now, we gotta hit the beach episode though. Here's a fun nod to the Battle Network 5 heads out there. It seems that after all these years, the legend of the boxer's off technique is still passed down, and as edgy as he tries to be, even Bakugo is drawn in by the chicanery. We get everybody in their swimsuits, Zack looks like Milhouse or Hannibal Buress without his glasses, and we get a surprise guest. Appearing in her third outfit of the game, Sonia ends up being here as well, just because it's part of her photo shoot for the next album she's making. Before we help with a virus issue, we run into these two.
And he'd be like, I'm American, I'm sorry. This is a very silly scenario we kept running into. Oh, my love for you is wider than the sky, deeper than the ocean, and hotter than the sun. Damn! Casanova over here.
I'll have to try that one later for myself. We meet Strong, catching him on his 100th wave of deleting viruses. MegaMan's reputation causes Strong to want to see how good we are with his own eyes, and we step in to finish the job.
And then if you talk to him, he's like, oh my god, beautiful. And she's like, yeah. He's like, I was talking about you. Ooh. And then Geo's like, get this guy out of here.
This guy is slick as hell. Speaking of slick, somebody stole an item from each of our characters. Bud's shirt, Luna's handkerchief, and Sonia's bag. On our way to investigate, something pretty cool happened. I finally got the Bushido card. It's a sword card that gets stronger the more Bushido cards you pick up in one go. We lost our boy Moai, but a new hero has certainly stepped up. By the end of this game, the majority of my folder will be sword cards, and you'll see why. Remember when I said the game will throw its most challenging enemies at you at any point? This one caught me pretty off guard. Spade Magnus Omega is even more powerful than the ones we get to fight in the post game, and here I am fighting him about 4 hours into the playthrough. The warning pop-up is a quick way to traumatize Star Force 3 players. Something must be wrong with me because I actually get excited every single time I got a warning. The stronger the enemy you fight, the better the tier of rewards you end up getting. That is, if you can beat them. I tried and tried and tried, but all his attacks destroy me in one hit. I just don't have the DPS to even keep up. But that's what I mean when I say this game is so refreshing and unique. Extremely hard random battles, completely random rewards that can break your game. You don't ever really see this anymore. We confront Sticky Fingers, but only have time to grab one item. The most important choice in the game, really. Naturally, I'm one of the homies, so I instantly lock in for Bud's shirt, because guys don't let other guys down. Sonia and Luna take the blow to their pride as women, wondering how Geo could pick a boy over two cute girls. They take their anger out by eating excessively. I don't know how they can eat without having something to watch. Logically, this is the best choice, as whichever girl we didn't choose would have been even more furious than they are now. We also get rewarded with a heartwarming scene. Bud is grateful to Geo, not just for incurring the wrath of the girls, but for always being so dependable, always carrying the burden. Bud reveals to us that he's been learning to wave change to Taurus Fire at will. He wants to do his part and fight by Geo's side. That's pretty cool, but this video wouldn't be the complete Star Force story unless I use my powers to go back in time and see the other possible futures. Regardless of what girl you choose, Bud doesn't really take it personally. Choosing Luna, Sonia decides to snack her way through her pain. Luna grabs Geo's hand, to keep him safe from falling, of course. She expresses her disbelief at how a regular guy like Geo is MegaMan. Remember, she openly loves MegaMan, but then she talks about how much Geo has grown to become so much like MegaMan. She's always being saved by him. She wishes she could do more. Then Geo reminds her how important she is to him. Luna was the one who was persistent to break him out of his shell. She was the one who held the two of them together when their friends disappeared in Star Force 2. Without Luna, Geo says that he wouldn't have the strength to be MegaMan. She wants to stay by his side. He asks her to never leave. They'll always be connected. Saving Sonia's bag, Luna is furious. Having the worst temper out of all of them, her wrath impacts Bud and Zack, but Geo is well clear of the strike zone. The water's beautiful, the vibes are perfect. Sonia uses the same classic move of, I'll hold your hand so you don't fall in, to get in close. Geo must have been learning something from Casanova earlier because he hits her with a slick line as well. The two have always had a fairly cute, playful relationship. They were each other's first brothers and both helped each other to have the strength to grow out of their shells. As all this good stuff is happening, Tia and Jack were doing the same old BS, this time with a much bigger target. Club Strong is born, declaring himself the king of the island. While Kirito seems a little sad that it looks like MegaMan won't be able to surpass this obstacle. And what an obstacle it is. The kids head to the castle and are greeted with Club Strong and an earthquake. How bad can it be? If the earthquake keeps coming, Aloha will sink into the ocean. With Club Strong taking control of the environmental system, we have to put a stop to it. Our gimmick here is very simple. Step on a crack, break your mom's back. Be good to your moms, guys, or else I will. Still salty on my loss to Spade Magnus Omega, we have one last college try. We abandoned that timeline for good. As for Club Strong, I personally find this boss fight hilarious. He's huge and strong and can deal a ton of damage, but he telegraphs harder than most of the other bosses. What really makes me love this guy is his very funny ultimate move.
Bro, I love this move so much. Doom, 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 doom.
Once Strong goes back to normal, he tells us that we know the people who did this to him, the mysterious duo. Before he can fully snitch, Joker arrives. Look at this dude, look at his lumpy ass head. He straight up obliterates Strong, gives a speech reminiscent of Doflamingo, takes note of Geo's emotions rising, and skedaddles. Caught in the act of collecting Crimson, Jack and Tia confess to being members of Dealer, claiming to have no more use for us. As for their wizards, how bad could Corvus and Virgo be? According to Omega, they're the worst criminals of Planet FM, and are responsible for the destruction of countless worlds. They also used to beat up Omega back in the day. Damn, okay. They both wave change, Tia becoming what everyone desires, a giant woman. Jack becomes like a crow thing or something, I don't really know. MegaMan fights Jack Corvus, but this is just an exhibition match, which is lucky for him because otherwise...
I was gonna fuck him up.
Luna appears, which gives Joker the opportunity to go perfect cell on us. By trying to hurt the people MegaMan cares about, he feels he can bring a new level of power out of us. I will admit there is a bit of darkness to Geo's temperament in this game. He gets emotional and fiery to the point where Omega has to be the voice of reason. The dynamic between the two can occasionally swap, and it's really interesting to see. MegaMan saves Luna, taunts Joker into fighting him, but this actually backfires as it leaves Luna unprotected. And before we can save her, she gets hit directly. We've had close calls through the series, but this is the first full-on death we've had for a person, and of all people, it happened to Luna. Loss is hard. The grieving process is painful and difficult. Bud and Zach, having known Luna longer than Geo, feel that emptiness pretty bad. She was always up in their business, bossy and demanding, but we know it came from a place of love. Star Force 2 really made me like Luna, so to see her gone is crazy. Speaking of Star Force 2, we use the brother band system as assurance that, hey, maybe there's still hope, maybe she's still alive out there somewhere. If Luna was really gone, she wouldn't be in our brother band. Not giving up hope, we search for Mr. Boreal to get help from Ace. On the way there, Omega feels like somebody's watching us. We don't know who it is, but I get the feeling it's somebody who totally deserves to come back for the sequel. Mr. Boreal was tasked with fixing the environmental system. In the process, he actually found the remains of Strong's data, put him together, and reconstructed him. Despite that, some of the data was still destroyed, so this new Strong isn't actually the same. Boreal was able to fill the gaps with new programs, but Luna was a person, not a wizard, so there's no guarantee the process would be the same. We get everyone together and meet Dr. Goodall, probably the smartest person in the world. She gives us the hard facts that she may not be able to save Luna from her fate. We reconstruct Vogue, who tells us Luna was turned into an EM being before being torn apart, meaning it could take a miracle. There might be a way to bring her back. It's sort of a Peter Pan situation where the power of friendship is what's binding her to this world. To ensure that we find every last piece of data, we take Acid with us. Luna's data could be anywhere in Aloha, in the real world, in the Wave Road, in any cybercore. We form our brother band with Dr. Goodall, then the hunt begins. Throughout the game, Abakio has become more angry, irrational, and unstable. Almost as if to fan the flames, King gives Tia a mission to assault Satella HQ by herself. This kid is ready to blow, so we start to search for the Luna frags. The search itself isn't too eventful, you just gotta go around Aloha and find her fragments and hope you're in the right spot. The sad thing is, 3 of the fragments were in possession of selfish wizards and even a Mr. Hurt who thought it would be valuable data. Some fun stuff did happen during the search though. We got a good MegaMan random boss encounter. Then, after that, we get a really fun surprise. An even stronger version of Club Strong than the last 2 that we fought. Pretty much endgame difficulty, to be exact. But because this is a warning battle, it had the potential for an incredible reward. It actually gave me the mega chip of a boss I hadn't even encountered yet. Spoilers! Meanwhile, back at Satella HQ, Dealer's new weapon is ready. Using data analyzed from MegaMan's battles, they mass-produced copies of Omega to assault the base. Assaulting the police station and turning it into a war zone? That's definitely a near death, right? The whole arc almost made me cheer for the Satella police. Don't let the shirt I'm wearing in the video fool you, it's for disguises. I'm from New York City, so law enforcement isn't really something I'm happy to see. Ace is cool as hell though, and uses taijutsu to scrap against the copies and buy MegaMan enough time to come back. Now we all know from my Star Force 2 video, every hero needs a rival. Somebody for you to surpass, someone who is ideologically opposed to you, who pushes you to your limit. I'm sure all of you have been asking where MegaMan's rival has been all this time. And just as Geo is overwhelmed by all the noise he's been exposed to, Hyde appears! Gotcha! Somehow surviving Hollow's attack, he does the only thing he's good at, hiding and waiting for a chance to strike. I guess he is good at one other thing, and that's always showing up right before Geo gets another massive power boost. Remember earlier when I talked about noise change? This is when we actually unlock it. As a lucky boy, I ended up getting what I consider to be the best noise in the game, the Gemini noise. It turns your charge attack into a paralyzing projectile, and it makes it so that all sword attacks deal stun. Any sword attack, by the way. I immediately fixed my folder to be as many swords as possible. It kinda turned into my Zoro playthrough. Getting counters now gives you a Noise Force Big Bang, a super powerful attack belonging to your element. Phantom leaves, whatever. More importantly, the final mechanic of the game is here, and I run into the perfect target to showcase it. Spade Magnus number 3. If you can reach 200% noise or higher during battle, you get a fun notification called the Meteor Server Access. Clicking on this completely changes your folder to endgame cards that you're very likely to not own. It also gives you access to the Black Ace noise form by finalizing. In this form, you have permanent auto lock-on, locked on cards do double damage, you can float over any panel, your Mega Buster stats are maxed out, and if you get a counter, or a Noise Force Big Bang, it becomes the Black End Galaxy, the coolest attack in the Star Force series. It's a full screen 500 damage attack that goes through blinking invincibility, and if your opponent somehow survives, they're affected by gravity, so they can't move for a couple seconds. Yeah, with everything this game gives you, aspiring for high noise percentage becomes more of a priority than ever, with the reward of illegal data and styling on your enemies with Black Ace. And our timing couldn't be any better because we jump in, save Heart Mode, and fend off the invasion until Dr. Goodall's weapon is complete. Tia, overseeing the assault, jumps into action, revealing that Ace is a former top member of Dealer. With a name like Ace though, you guys could have pieced that together, right? It's even implied that the two of them may have had a thing for each other. Ace finally reveals his trump card, and they EM wave change with Acid to become Acid Ace. This reveals that Acid is pretty special. He isn't just a man-made wizard, he's an artificial EM being. MegaMan can't stick around though. Phantom has kidnapped Bud and Zack and Sonia. We leave our light work to Ace. Phantom's grand plan was to steal the Ace program that lets us control noise. With everyone desperate to save Luna, even the hostages are okay with whatever needs to happen here. Giga Chad Bud flirts with Sonia again, and Shakespeare retreats into the Cybercore. Why is it when Luna's under the most threat, Phantom is always involved? She needs a restraining order. Dark Phantom is completely snapped. We handle him easily, and then, in his disbelief, he falls off the stage. Presumably dead, but he's come back before. Outside, Ace is overwhelming Queen Virgo. Before he can deliver the final strike, his body reaches its limit. Kind of an All Might situation where wave changing with Acid puts a massive strain on his body. He can't really maintain the form any longer. When Ace defected from Dealer, he did try to take Tia and Jack with him, but didn't have the power to do so. He pleaded with her to leave Dealer now. She says if she does that, her wish can't be fulfilled. Ace and Acid then request that MegaMan take the lead and stop Queen Virgo. Having Gemini noise, I'm her perfect counter, and it shows. Ace and Tia have a sad goodbye before she's taken into custody. With all the chaos out of the way, we roll the dice and hope for a miracle. And it really will take a miracle. They break it to us that there's only a 30% chance of a success. Dr. Goodall is brilliant and successful, but she has an equal amount of failures because everyone keeps asking her to keep performing these miracles. As we cheer for Luna, we get to see her perspective. She's tired, fading. She hears us calling for her and gets upset because she thinks it's a prank and rushes towards the sound of our voices. Then Dr. Goodall drops a line that stuck with me for over a decade now. Miracles happen all the time. Luna's back, and Geo asks Ace to let him join the Saddle of Police. Dealer's gone way too far, and Geo will not let them get away with this. It's time to strike back. Tia's raid was essentially a success, wiping out most of the Saddle of Police as well as destroying a lot of Waza's HQ. King manipulates Jack by telling him that with Ace and MegaMan still in the picture, busting Tia out of jail isn't an option yet, so Jack decides to take things into his own hands. We run into our ally from the previous games, Damian Wolf, and actually get to see his partner Wolf for the first time. These guys turn into the optional boss, Wolf Woods, and the reason I bring them up is because they'll play a part in this chapter. As we help Luna the day before the presidential debate, we get a call from Ace. Meeting up with him, we get ambushed by him. Acid Ace is a fun boss fight. He uses cards that the player has access to and attacks ridiculously fast. It turns out this was more like MegaMan's formal test to join the Saddle of Police Commandos, which consists of Ace, Geo, Sonia, and Bud. There's another person they're trying to recruit, but it hasn't been finalized yet. With a team and a purpose formed to foil Dealer's plan, the only thing left to do now is to become brothers with Ace. As for how serious the Dealer threat is, it's bad enough to end the world. It turns out that Meteor G, the big red star that's coming to Earth, is actually a giant cluster of crimson. It's basically a massive collection of emissions that all the noise has produced so far. If Meteor G were to hit the planet, it could wipe out all EM technology in the world. The Saddle of Police are having trouble recruiting the last member, but suddenly viruses have appeared in the real world. We save Luna, Zack, and all of Echo Ridge, but the onslaught of viruses is non-stop. The source seems to be something called a noise wave. The simplest way to describe it, it's a cybercore made entirely from noise. It's a place where noise gathers violently, like a storm. As for what's inside, it's like the closest thing to the Skywave in terms of the layout. This part of the game is annoying, and clearly intentionally annoying. The Star Force games don't have an undernet like the Battle Network series did. I consider this to be the closest thing. The layout tends to be annoying and tedious. The battles are a lot tougher, and maybe it's just me, but I encountered way more warning battles than anywhere else in the game. On the plus side, I guess it's a great place to grind for amazing illegal data. Speaking on that, I actually encountered Taurus Fire Omega. Remember the Spade Magnus Omega that I fought in Aloha that I had no chance of beating? It's time for a rematch. But this time, I have all the mechanics of the game and a much better folder as well. It's still an insanely difficult fight for me at this point because he beats me in 3 hits. But as I said, with the power of Black Ace, you can spit out damage like crazy. And the reward for somehow defeating him is an incredible mega card that I utilized until the very end of my playthrough. Back to this arc. You know I would never lie to you guys. As perfect as this game is, this is probably the worst part of it. I spent hours and hours lost in the noise wave and its objectives. There really isn't much for me to even say about it. It's a long, painful, vague search, one that I must have scrubbed from my memory completely. But at least it's an excuse to use the Mementos theme. Near the end of our little Easter egg hunt, Jack reveals himself to be responsible for all the viruses going crazy. As he gears up for a fight, we finally get the main man himself making his appearance. This is what a real edgelord rival is all about. Kirito, meet Shadow the Hedgehog. You know I love my boy Rogue. Jack has just been a diet version of him the whole game, really. We don't fully know what beef Rogue has with Dealer yet, but it's enough to turn his wrath on them and postpone his feud with Geo. He was supposed to be the final member of the team, but as usual, no, he will not be working with us. He works alone. Jack is a temperamental, ticking time bomb who lets his emotions explode. Tia was the only one who could calm him down, so without her, he's pretty much ready to blow. But again, we know what real power looks like. Almost as if to give us a reminder, Solo shows up in front of Waza HQ. He has a mysterious wizard named Laplace, defeats all the wizards thrown at them, and then turns into a sword. Solo then defeats even more wizards. All this without even transforming. Dealer is using Mu Tech, something that Solo just can't allow. I'll be honest again, it's a crime that this is how Solo gets involved in the main story. This is a character that you can really write something incredible around. But having him wedged in for this reason doesn't feel like it's enough for me. I suppose it's certainly better than nothing. Today's the day of Luna's inevitable coronation as the student body president. As we rally the troops for Luna's campaign, we have a special guest in the classroom. Solo assumes if Jack were to attack now would be the perfect time and place. He could care less about the people around. This would just be a good time for him to strike a dealer. Jack appears and edgelords as hard as he possibly can. Full Fred Durst mode, down to his dialogue. Damian Wolf wave change to Wolf Woods. Knowing they have no chance of winning, but just needing to buy MegaMan enough time to get here. With Jack as unstable as he is, this will count as a near-death scenario. Solo turns the school into Swiss cheese and makes it to the roof, but with a ton of noise in the way, the unthinkable happens. He actually asks us for our help. We shoot the noise clusters so that he's free to attack the source. It's a fun, simple little minigame that also gives us a combination of MegaMan and Rogue's themes. I'll consider this character development for Rogue, even though he's huffing and puffing about working with us the whole time. Geo steels himself to take Jack down if he fails to talk to him. To his credit, in pretty much every fight this game, Geo does attempt diplomacy, choosing to believe the best in people. But Mr. Black Air Force Energy himself decides that, yeah, he's got time for this. His attacks are still ridiculously fast, so you always have to be dialed in against him. He yields, then we tag out with Wolf Woods to challenge Pain. Seriously, look at what he's saying. Come on, he's literally using Pain's dialogue. Jack has a ton of HP, and his attack patterns are a little weird, but overall, I like this boss fight. Luna gets elected president and sets her sights on a massive goal, getting all the students and faculty of Echo Ridge Elementary to become brothers and make a goal and purpose to make a school where everyone is happy. Bud decides to leave the saddle of commandos because he wants to stay by Luna's side and make sure she's always safe. Speaking of character development, good on Bud for becoming an ally to MegaMan and putting the people he cares about before himself. Dealer gains control of Meteor G. All they need to complete their plan is a whole lot more crimson. Wizards throughout Electopia go out of control, so we take a grand tour and take them down. Randomly, we run into our third Omega of the game, Cygnus Wing. This was a nail-biting battle that ended with both of us one shot away from losing. The onslaught of damage I can deal with Black Ace was what claimed us the win, as well as another absurdly powerful card. Mr. Boreal's been studying Meteor G. He says that it's emitting a strange noise, almost felt like a voice coming from the meteor. Ace pretty much deduces what Dealer's plan is, to control Meteor G. The messed up thing is that Dealer's causing Wizards to go out of control and attack people. Saddle of Police has to protect the people, but by defeating the Wizards, Crimson is produced. That's what Dealer's after the whole time, so no matter what we do, it's a losing situation. That's too good for Skeletor, who shows up to gloat. MegaMan and Ace work together and take down a ton more Wizards, then the despicable Joker pulls another plot twist. He raises Acid's noise level over 200% and forces him to finalize, the trump card that we've been using the whole game. They go out of control and we are forced to stop them. Ace is all messed up from this physically and mentally because he wave changed with Acid when he was out of control. Tired of being on the back foot the whole game, the decision is made to assault the Dealer base. To do that, we need to collect multiple codes for the Dealer door in the Astro Wave. Again, this took me hours. If you guys decide to revisit the game, fair warning, just use a guide for this part. It's not the best. The Dealer base turns out to be the Crimson Factory. It's tacky as hell. Also, I'm probably the only person in the world who gets excited getting a warning and then getting a boss. For our next Omega, we get Diamond Ice. With a lot of luck, we melt her with relative ease. We storm the base, the commandos use their blickies, but it's not effective, and they get taken out of action immediately. This is definitely worth a near death. At one point we get captured in a cage, which seems to be a pretty effective method of stopping protagonists. Harpno saves him, Saddle of Police Wizards make the ultimate sacrifice, some Mutek gets in our way, and then we get a totally, completely mysterious assist. Getting into the actual Dealer base, it's super tacky. It's like what a teenager with too much money would think makes for a cool hideout. Perfect for Mr. King. Ace goes out of control, and we have to take him down for good. What actually happened is far more interesting. Ace pretended to lose control, lures Geo in, knocks him out, and goes to fight the big bad himself. The good old Majin Vegeta strategy. Joker's strong as hell though. He finalizes and shows us his true form. It turns out he wasn't some dude the whole time. He was the ultimate battle wizard, created from the same program that made Acid. Canonically, MegaMan hasn't been using the Black Ace form, only the noise forms. Accessing the full power of the meteor is what makes Dread Joker such a massive threat. He might be the most annoying fight in the game, and I'm gonna show you why.
Okay.
We finish them off with a double deluxe. The super siblings show up, and like all sore losers, Joker plans to self-destruct. Completing the Majin Vegeta arc, Ace decides to make the ultimate sacrifice. He entrusts the future to Geo, who he declares to be more powerful than anyone else. He gets some last words in with Tia, wishing to save her from Dealer. He then tells her that he loves her. Then Acid Ace and Joker explode. King and Heartless are in their orbital base, where they pull a classic Saturday morning villain move, the good old declaration of world domination. As a demonstration, he uses the meteor's power to shoot a laser at Waza HQ, trapping them in condensed crimson. It doesn't matter though, everyone got out in time. With a gift from beyond from Ace, we move into the endgame. Inside a soul, there are two wolves. One has a lumpy head, the other really likes chocolate. Then there's a secret third wolf, which seems to be fed on pure protein. Jesus.
Kelvin should just turn left and just boom. He'd be like, yo, is that Dread Joker?
While Geo's allies tried to rebel against King, they put themselves in danger. Geo practically tells his mom that he's MegaMan without using the explicit words. Sounding so much like his father, she understands that her son has grown so much. The next part of this game gets pretty dark. Jack and Tia show up to take control of Meteor G from King. A bit of their backstory is that they were orphans taken in by the King Foundation, along with tons of other orphans. This was just a front though. King was using the children to commit crimes for him. They were all wiped out except for Jack and Tia. None of the other ones were able to come back. King outsmarts and traps them, and then Heartless betrays him. She sends him spiraling into a noise portal, never to be seen again. With King out of the way, Jack and Tia still plan to go through with their goal, which for some reason is to crash Meteor G into the planet. According to Heartless, this would wipe out 80% of human life on impact, as well as destroy all technology on the planet. It turns out they were going full Sasuke, destroy the world to recreate it. A revolution. Jack and Tia were born in a small country that was prospering from its EM technology. They were actually the children of the king. Unfortunately, neighboring countries wanted what they had for themselves. They plunged their little nation into war. The two of them lost everything, including their family. That's when King picked them up and turned them into child spies or something. Their story breaks my heart. They waited all this time and were under King's thumb, waiting for their opportunity. They blame technology for their misfortune. Understandable. Heartless tells us what her deal is next. She was trying to get in contact with somebody. Hold on to your butts for this one because she's referring to Geo Stelar, Geo's father. Heartless worked for a space organization that worked with Kelvin at one point. When she heard what happened, she did her part to try and save him, but encountered King instead. And the reason for that is because it turns out Kelvin is inside of Meteor G. Remember the end of Star Force 1? Kelvin was turned into an EM being by Omega so he could escape. Turns out, on his way home, he encountered Meteor G and decided to trans into the cybercore of the meteor to slow down its progress. Kelvin's been soloing the meteor for who knows how long. This whole time. With arms like that, it's not that hard to believe. Nothing left now but to form one final purpose with the goal to stop Meteor G. And the name of the team? Star Force. Of course, King comes and ruins the moment by revealing he survived the noise world through turning himself into an EM being, same as how Omega did to Kelvin. Geo once again promises to come home to his friends, as well as to his mother Hope, who now knows that he's MegaMan, and that her husband Kelvin is in Meteor G. Do you guys remember the rocket we sent into space with Magnus? We're gonna send MegaMan to that so he can get close enough to trans into the meteor. When we arrive, we see glimpses of Kelvin guiding us towards the center. Two things of note within Meteor G. One, Kelvin's memories are being shown to us the further we go. What happened immediately after being saved by Omega, as well as the day he left his home and said goodbye to Hope and little Geo. Two, we get a sick boss rush culminating with Jack of all people choosing to end the cycle of violence. Rogue then deletes Corvus and Virgo, who were truly chaotic evil. With Jack and Tia reformed, Rogue escorts them from the premises and we step into the final fight. We finally reunite with Kelvin, but business comes first. King fuses with Meteor G to become the Crimson Dragon. Shout out to Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, by the way, my favorite generation. Because Kelvin has so much power in him, the Crimson Dragon chooses to absorb him. Kelvin's last words are a reminder to MegaMan to fight for all the people he cares about. But MegaMan's gone too far to stop now. It's time for the last battle against the Crimson Dragon. It really has all come down to this. I couldn't get it out of my head though that MegaMan did like the Markiplier punch. The battle itself is really fun. Let me tell you about this boss theme though. It's my favorite battle theme in all of MegaMan. It's really memorable and it's incredible. It incorporates the main theme of the game, Shooting Star, making you feel like it really is the culmination of the entire series. Capcom is never really disappointed when it comes to grand finales, and very soon you guys will see how much the Star Force games mean to me. Also, remember when I said Bushido was the star of the show? Look at how much damage this does. Look at how we melt the final boss. After defeating King, he seems to be destroyed. Crimson Dragon is still okay because it's drawing power from Kelvin. With the noise output at maximum, Magnus' escape rocket is going to be too far away for us to leave when we finish the battle. Once again, MegaMan is trapped in the final battlefield. MegaMan has a vision from Ace. He was a good role model for Geo, kinda like a template of what it means to be a hero. I love Star Force for many reasons, but this is one of them. Geo has gone through so much in his short life. He's done so much for the people around him and for the world itself. He really is a fantastic protagonist. With final words of encouragement and a reminder to keep his promise to come home safe, he goes beyond his limit and canonically finalizes into Black Ace for the first time in the story. Then he does the most badass thing he's done yet. It doesn't matter how strong Crimson Dragon is at all. Black Ace MegaMan is the strongest thing there is. We end it with Blackened Galaxy, get a thumbs up from Kelvin, and MegaMan destroys the meteor. But now Geo's stuck alone in space, without Kelvin or Omega, and no way to get home. Meanwhile, everyone on Earth has gotten a heartfelt message from Kelvin, telling the world how Geo has sacrificed everything to save the planet, and begs them all to picture Geo making it home safe. As a fellow human being, as a father, I'm begging you all, please. Dude. Remember when Luna set her goal to have everyone in the school become brothers and share the same purpose? How enormous and impossible of a goal it would seem? I almost thought I could hold it together, but this is the part of the game that will always make me cry. Thanks to the broadcast from the studio, the people of Earth all have set the same Bro, I'm getting chills. What is the purpose? To bring Geo... Bro, I'm actually crying. Everyone is doing all that they can to help fulfill that purpose. My eyes are actually burning, dude. Kelvin and Omega wake up Geo and use the energy from everyone's purpose to send Geo home, and promise to be right behind him afterwards. I did my best to hold it together, but the last scene here is the perfectly timed finisher to the series. We get one last memory of Hope and Kelvin naming their child. Kelvin, have you thought of a name for him yet? In fact, I have. Let's call him Geo. That sounds like a name you would come up with. I want him to be full of love and strength, so I want to name him after this planet which has unlimited amounts of both. Dude, I don't think I can narrate this. I don't think I can do it. Let me be clear that the playthrough's over. Like, this is me editing everything together and speaking, and to this day, I can't not cry watching this scene. Before leaving to go to space, Kelvin had said, "I'm the luckiest man in the world." And now here, Geo says pretty much the same thing about his family. Hearing everyone's voices calling to him, our little blue shooting star makes his way home. As a reward, we get beautiful art of the characters and a beautiful remix of Shooting Star. We also get art of Ace with Tia and Dr. Goodall, suggesting that he might be alive. Canonically, we never really get a concrete answer as to Ace's fate. As a Star Force superfan, I did purchase the official complete works that contain all the art of the characters, as well as concept art and really insightful paragraphs on what they wanted their characters to evoke when being seen. One of these paragraphs talks about Ace, quote, "These images came together easily because I wanted Star Force 3 to have a happy ending, where everyone has a smile on their face. I can't say for sure what happened to Ace though. Did he survive? The image with him laughing and chatting in a hospital bed may be reality, or it may just be a representation of someone's desperate wish. I will leave that up to the player's imagination." If you're asking me though, I think Ace survived. His brother band with Geo was still intact, and we've used that as a wellness check in the past. If you care about Star Force in any way, I cannot recommend picking this book up any harder. 2 weeks later, we find Geo talking to his father the way he has in Star Force 1, by talking to the sky. Only this time, Omega's also gone. He's going through the grieving process when suddenly a blue shooting star appears in the sky, just like Star Force 1. Omega appears, and the two hug it out. In reality, Omega just happened to get here first. We have another guest arriving, straight for Geo by the way. As Geo heads home to Hope, he gives her quite the surprise. After all these years, Kelvin is finally home. This would be the ending for Star Force 3, but as usual, they do spoil us with delicious post-game content. So let's get right to it. Investigating a strange noise wave, we run into a space Hertz who was sent to deliver us a message. There's a king out there whose home planet is being destroyed, and only their brother MegaMan can save them. To get to the other side of the universe, we need to track down invading EM beings sent to destroy us. They turn out to be rebuilt versions of the enemies we fought throughout this game, only far stronger than they could have been before. Making our way to the center of the galaxy, or deep space, we learn that the planet FM, the one that Omega and all the FMians grew up on, is being attacked by an extremely powerful entity called Sirius, with the power to control black holes. The FM King, Cepheus, calls for us before it's too late. There were some standouts that I'd like to show though. Dark Phantom R is a sophisticated EM being that knows that the dog with the loudest bark usually has the weakest bite, so he's nowhere near as chatty or corny as Hyde. With that being said, the battle against him was hilarious with that added context. One boss that gave me a ton of trouble was Wolf Woods. With his blinding fast speed and his wood element countering my Gemini form, yeah, it was a tough one. But forget all that, there's a part of this postgame I somehow completely forgot about. The return of my beloved. This is the only thing I'm grateful to Sirius for, reviving Apollo Flame, the ultimate warrior. And following his moral code, he chooses to battle for him.
He's so cool. Oh, where'd you go?
It's a hell of a battle, but when we come out on top, Geo, Omega, and even Sirius himself declare that there was nobody more powerful than Apollo Flame. Attaboy. We speak with Cepheus, promising to save Planet FM, with less than a day left before the planet is consumed. For beings like Dread Joker and Sirius, Geo has no patience or remorse. Before heading into the black hole server, Rogue gets in our way. In 2 days, something called the Moo Metal that Sirius stole will appear on his body, at which point Rogue will battle him and take it back. It might be the key to restoring his civilization. Planet FM will be destroyed before that though. The stakes have never been higher, as only one civilization can be saved. For the boys to protect the bonds they care about, someone has to lose everything. Running into this fight with low health was a ridiculous mistake, but we overcome these odds as well. We even have to defeat Dread Joker and Acid Ace in a row as well, just to get to Sirius. Having finally reached him, let's talk about Sirius for a little bit. This is as close to a divine being as we get in this series. Unfortunately, he's completely insane. Being so powerful, he sees people and planets as playthings. Sirius is truly the most frustrating enemy to battle against. He's immune to paralysis, gravity, being bubbled, confused, or even flinched. Pretty much every status effect in the game. You can counter him, but he has the tightest counter window in the whole game. The real trick to beating him is using Area Eater and getting really, really close and personal with him, eliminating the majority of his attacks. Seeing such an annoying enemy flounder around like that was very satisfying. When we defeat him, he actually transfers the Moo Metal from his body to ours, with the intent of giving Rogue more motivation than ever to destroy us. It's terrible that the two boys are now fated to fight to the finish now. Having stopped the biggest threat yet, the two remember space is a pretty big place. Maybe there is someone out there even stronger than Sirius. That ends the postgame for Star Force 3, but would you guys believe me if I said there was even more left to see? There are 4 more battles before I can say I've fully showcased everything that Star Force 3 has to offer. We have to battle 3 strongest guys in the universe: Moon Destroyer, Apollo Flame, and Sirius, the only enemies in the series that have the Sigma designator. Coincidentally, I actually hit affiliate status on Twitch during this session, a massive milestone that I could not have reached without you guys, so please accept my gratitude for helping me reach this point. To celebrate, as well as to warm up for the hardest fights in the game, I actually decided to run a gauntlet of all the bosses in the game, and jump right into fighting Apollo Flame Sigma. I gotta say, the only thing that got me through the Sigma fights was my favorite card in all of Star Force, the Moo Barrier. The way it works is quite simple. Every time you move, it generates a Moo Barrier that works just like Rogue's. So as long as you stay mobile, it'll absorb every hit. Does that sound broken? It is. For the sake of science, I wanted to show off the 11th noise in the game, Rogue Noise. It's extremely powerful, probably the actual best one in the game. No matter how hard we tried though, I could not get it to pop up, and we tried for hours. I even resorted to giving myself maximum noise just to make it as easy as possible to obtain Rogue Noise. Still didn't happen. Moon Destroyer was next, a boss that I knew I wouldn't have too much trouble with. He did gain my respect after a pretty fun interaction.
Enjoy. Also, nice panels, asshole. Where you gonna go, buddy? Where you gonna go? You're looking
But as expected, Sirius Sigma was the biggest hurdle here. Having more health and dealing way more damage and just overall being faster than ever, this one took me a long time. With myself in the chat being completely stumped as to why we weren't getting Rogue Noise, we heeded the advice of someone from the past. And of course it works on the very first try.
Brother!
I was livid. After that, we throw it back to Star Force 2. A couple of you guys actually requested that I do the final fight with Rogue in this game, so I did. Hey, don't say I don't show you guys any love, alright? To really complete the Star Force series, we have the final confrontation with Rogue. Having somehow mastered the power of noise, this is as powerful as he possibly can be. I'm starting to think that Mutek is the Star Force version of Hashirama cells. It just lets you do whatever you want. Having taken him down at his strongest, I'm proud to say we fully completed MegaMan Star Force 3. It was a wild ride, and I'm so happy to share this journey with everyone who either watched the YouTube videos or joined me on Twitch for the experience. You guys have already greatly impacted what started out as a fun project, and it's grown into a little community that I'm really proud of. If you did enjoy any of the things I've done so far, please do consider liking and subscribing. It would help me be able to make more videos like this. My next massive milestone would be reaching 1,000 subs here on YouTube. It's a lofty goal, but it's something I have full confidence that I can reach. Again, none of this is actually possible without your support, so I'll give a massive thank you in advance if you do. The Star Force series means a lot to me, and I hope that it shows in these videos. Did you guys know that Star Force 4 was in development but was actually cancelled? It featured a more mature Geo, as well as a descendant of Lan Hikari named Kazuma. From what we know, Geo and Kazuma were outlaw hackers wanted by the satellite police, and hacking was going to play a major role in the game. With how they handled noise, illegal cards, and all the forms in the game, I would have loved to have seen what the Capcom team would have been capable of. The story of an older Geo dealing with darker tones and a more mature plot would have been a perfect continuation for the Star Force series. At this time, the Battle Network Legacy Collection has outsold every other Mega Man game out there, so our voices are being heard. I have an incredible power of manifesting what I want, as silly as it may sound. So I'm putting all my energy into getting Star Force the recognition it deserves. Star Force 4 may be unlikely, but it's not too crazy to think that a Star Force Legacy collection might be in the works. Who knows? Miracles happen all the time after all. But as for me, with this passion project complete, I'll be setting my sights on growing as a creator, so please do stick around. I hope to see you guys all on the next stop on my journey. Peace.